stops buffering Desh Deepak or starts buffering? Anyways. All right. Yes, you can write that, Rashmi. Why not? Okay, so let's get going. We will first finish up on where we ended yesterday. We had talked till the challenges of Green Revolution. We will today talk of Evergreen Revolution, even though it's a post-91 thing. But few topics I cover with you while talking now. But you will get more clarity as I talk on these topics to you in the India after 91 episode also. But few things we will discuss and quickly get over with. So that is one. And then I will talk to you on role of investment in agriculture or role of capital formation in agriculture. And that is two. One of you will have to lend me your, yeah, thank you. So that is on the last page of your notes. But this evaluation of investment, I will give you some more write-up because I need to tell you a few things between 2015 and 2021 also. So I'll give you a write-up on this. And then the idea will be to understand the occupational structure change in India, taking data set from 1951, 71 and 91. If you recall 1951, I had already discussed with you the occupational structure India had in 1951 and why it had it. Today the discussion will be mostly on changes in occupational structure in India and income structure in India. That how did occupational structure change in India and income structure change in India. And then if time permits, which it will, then we will talk about the role of public sector and private sector in India to finish things off on Indian economy. On role of public sector and private sector, I generally give you a 200-250 words write-up. All right, that if they ask you what is the role of public sector or what was the role of private sector, so 200-250 words write-up on each allows you to write an answer even if it is for 20 marks. That is how we will go. So let's begin with the first things first. When we see evaluation of, and one more thing, I have asked how many of you could not get the notes at the moment? Micro and macro? Okay, I've instructed the office, so please check after your class. I hope you would get it, and then and if you don't get it, just let me know. In case you don't get the micro macro notes today, just let me know that you didn't get it. कुछ नहीं तो मुझे मैसेज कर देना, ज़रूरी नहीं कि तुम मेरे पास अलग से मिलने आओ, लेकिन मुझे मैसेज कर दो. Keep me communicated. मुझे कोई बात आपको लगता होगा कि ये रिस्पॉन्ड नहीं करते हैं, बट आप छोटी सी बात भी लिखते हो कि बफर कर गया या हमारे तक हमें आवाज़ नहीं आ रही, तो मैं उसका भी वापस क्रॉस चेक करता हूँ टेक्निकल टीम के साथ कि ऐसा क्यों हो रहा था. So I might sound indifferent or look indifferent, but I am not. मैं सारी चीज़ें देखता पढ़ता रहता हूँ कि क्या हो रहा है, नहीं हो रहा है, कहाँ सफ़र कर रहे हो या नहीं कर रहे, and so on. I asked them the feasibility of live video technically was not possible for offline, and that is why we had to settle down with the recordings that people can see. So that is why those of you who are not attending it live or offline will have to do with the recording part alone. Now, so do let me know. अगर तुम्हें कभी भी कोई दिक्कत आती है मुझे बता ज़रूर दो, क्योंकि मुझे पता होगा तो मैं उसके rectifications कर सकता हूँ. I'll be able to do that. Now see, when we talk about evaluation of Green Revolution, because this evaluation of Green Revolution is more or less the pros and cons just brought together. Alright, that is evaluation of Green Revolution. Evaluation का मतलब बस है एक conclusion. जैसे finally क्या लिखोगे. Alright, but I'm more interested in the other part, policy steps required for second Green Revolution or Evergreen Revolution. Now, when we see policy steps required for Evergreen Revolution, this name Evergreen Revolution, please try understanding that, this name Evergreen Revolution has been introduced by Professor M.S. Swaminathan. The government created a committee under him in 2005. All right, because agricultural production growth was pretty low. So since agricultural production growth was pretty low in 2005, in between 1991 and 2005. So the government created a committee under Professor M.S. Swaminathan, the same M.S. Swaminathan under whom we had established the Green Revolution and so on. So government created a committee, and the committee was called Committee on Agricultural Reforms. Now this Committee on Agricultural Reforms said that we will have to now focus on evergreen revolution, because green revolution seems to be plateauing. कि ग्रीन रिवॉल्यूशन को देख के ऐसा लग रहा है जैसे वो एक जगह पहुंच के रुक रहा है, तो अब हमें कोशिश करनी पड़ेगी एवरग्रीन रिवॉल्यूशन की. This is what the committee suggested. So now when we talk about evergreen revolution, when we bring that across, it works like this. You know, when we talk about evergreen revolution, it works like this. It says here, or we see here, that kind of green revolution which is environmentally sustainable and which keeps giving regular returns to the farmers, that is evergreen revolution. That kind of green revolution. So when somebody says what is evergreen revolution, so this is environmentally sustainable and provisions higher return with stable income to the farmers. That is evergreen revolution. All right, that it is evergreen. It doesn't become environmentally degraded. How do you achieve that? Now you achieve that by technological reforms. तो हमेशा दो तरह से बात करेंगे एग्रीकल्चर के केस में, टेक्नोलॉजिकल रिफॉर्म्स एंड इंस्टीट्यूशनल रिफॉर्म्स. ऑलराइट, सो इट इज अचीव्ड बाय technological reforms. What kind of technological reforms? Begins with 1, better soil health. Begins with 1, better soil health. Now, if you will see, that is the first point I have given you, enhancement of soil health. All right, enhancement of soil health. Professor Ashok Gulati, he is at ICRIAR these days. He is a very renowned agricultural economist. In fact, you will often read his articles every fortnight. हर 15 दिन के बाद मंडे को उनके आर्टिकल आते हैं इंडियन एक्सप्रेस में. और अगर आप इंडियन एक्सप्रेस नहीं भी पढ़ते हो तो वो आर्टिकल पढ़ सकते हो, वो अच्छे आर्टिकल्स होते हैं. आपको उसकी चिंता नहीं करनी. मैं वेट कर रहा था, अब आपको एक पहला गिफ्ट भेजूंगा आज रात तक. धनतेरस से दिवाली के गिफ्ट शुरू हो जाएंगे. So I'll give you that. So I always incorporate his articles because they are always very good. All right, one place where I have seen it's always good that you can gain something from his articles. So Professor Ashok Gulati had suggested brown revolution, that is taking active steps to promote soil health and encourage the farmers to choose crops which match soil requirements. That is the aspect here. Both. Green Revolution had both positive and negative impact. In a nutshell, it had a negative impact. All right, but it is both that was happening. No, it is not a positive assessment. It is mentioned that crop diversification was happening, Raghav. Perfect. Aditya, good afternoon, all of you who are joining me now. Okay, let's see. So what do we do here is, or what we see here is, how do you develop soil health? First of all, right choice of, so I'll just put it across. It can, so right cultivation choice, correct crop to cultivate, then it can be developed by right choice of micronutrients and macronutrients. See, macronutrients are your nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus. You know, NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. Like we use urea, that is nitrogen, and diammonium phosphate, DAP, and muriate of potash, MOP. That is your macronutrient. And micronutrients are nutrients like calcium, sulfur, you know, these iron, these are micronutrients. So right choice of micronutrients and macronutrients for soil by informing the farmers what is good for them. That is the aspect to keep in mind. Now the government has already taken up programs, and I will teach you about these programs when I am teaching you India after 91, but government has already taken up programs. For example, soil health card scheme. So in that case, the government says that we will assess the soil, create a report card, share it with the farmers to tell them what kind of soil will be better for them to grow. But that is one technical reform, that you go for better soil health. The second thing, again, that you would need is better quality seeds. Better quality seeds. That is the second factor that we will need. Better quality seeds. And they are less productive. All right. In that you put a dash and write. ये आपके notes में नहीं है, इसलिए मैं आपको लिखवा रहा हूँ. अब यहाँ एक dash put करके लिखो. Better quality seeds. This can be developed. This is what I would need you to write in better quality seeds. This can be developed through seed development programs. This can be developed through seed development programs, comma, in coordination with Indian Agricultural Research Institutes, Indian Agricultural Research Institute, and with inputs from farmers. With inputs from farmers. Full stop. It can also be developed. It can also be developed with better storage capacity, for seeds, and assuring regular replacement of seeds. And assuring regular replacement of seeds. All right, that in fact Niti Aayog Research Commission had a take on this. They said that if you are using non-hybrid seeds and hybrid seeds, so I can believe you understand that hybrid seeds would be those which will be a hybrid of two different genes. Non-hybrid is which is a plain seed that we use. So they said for hybrid seeds, do not use them for more than 3 cultivation, and non-hybrid seeds, do not use them for more than 1 cultivation cropping season. Replace them. So the replacement should be, you should replace all your non-hybrid seeds definitely every cropping season, and you should replace your hybrid seeds also 1/3 of them every cropping season. All right, that is what the Niti Aayog's research had suggested. So that training has to be again should reach the farmer. The information rather should reach the farmers so that we can have better, factors working here. All right, so that is the other aspect of seed protection. Then the third thing in technological reform is irrigation support or irrigation reforms. Now see, in irrigation reforms, you need both demand side reforms and supply side reforms. In irrigation reforms, you need both demand side reforms and supply side reforms. I'll tell you what I imply by that. When we say supply side in irrigation, supply side means your capacity to supply water. That will depend on the infrastructure you have developed. So first of all, when we say irrigation reforms, I'm just taking this here. So when we say supply side reforms, this consists of using more localized source by developing local ponds, rivers, etc. That is one thing in supply side reforms. That use more local sources. Don't rely on long distance sources. That okay, something will come from 10 kilometers away, 30 kilometers away. Rather rely on your local ponds, tanks, rivers, rejuvenate them and use them for irrigation. Gives you more assured irrigation possibilities. That is one factor. Second, within supply side reforms, developing small irrigation structures like check dams to promote prudent use of water. So that is the second thing, developing small irrigation structures like check dams. All right, developing small irrigation structures like check dams to promote prudent use of water. Prudent means where you are careful about using water. So to promote prudent use of water. So small dams, check dams, places where you can conserve water easily, they are much environmentally friendly compared to large dams or big dams. So focus on that. All right. And third in this is promotion of water harvesting techniques to keep groundwater recharged. Promotion of water harvesting technique to keep groundwater recharged. So that is the third thing that we need to do. Promotion of water harvesting techniques to keep groundwater recharged. All right, promotion of water harvesting techniques to keep groundwater recharged. These are supply side. All right, and you will notice मैं चाहता हूँ कुछ बात तुम एग्जाम पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से सोचो. So if you will think about it from exam's point of view, now imagine if you are writing, because even these words will sometimes become too much, if you are writing a 150 word answer, on something like evergreen revolution, even say a 250 word answer on evergreen revolution, writing definition of evergreen revolution 15-20 words, then what you have written in the last 10-15 minutes, that itself creates approximately 120 words. You understand that? So this single point where we have tried keeping it as confined as possible is still around 30-35 words. So what I'm trying to teach you is that think from exam point of view, that is where the problem of confining the words becomes a trouble part. That how do I write in lesser words? So that practice begins now onwards. That okay, I'll express myself, but I'll express myself precisely so that I'm not over writing and I'm not overdoing the answer part. So in that case, how will I think from exam's point of view? All right, I can do a 15, 20, maybe 25 words of introduction, defining what is evergreen revolution, and then I write something like a 100 word, 120 word on technical reforms, or 100 words, 110 words, and then another 100, 110 words on institutional reforms, and then 20 words conclusion. That for 250 words. And normally these questions are for 150 words. Now in 150 words, what do? Don't compromise on the points, compromise on explanation. Alright, अगर कभी भी ये situation है कि तुम्हारे पास 250 words हैं, पर तुम्हें लिखना 150 words में है, you can face these situations that you have 250 words, you have to write in 150. Never compromise on the points that you are going to mention. You can compromise on the depth of explanation, because then the examiner is expecting you to write everything in those 150 words itself. Alright. Like if you are writing only on irrigation for 250 words, I will do that also with you in India after 91, where we can bring in programs of Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana and then explain the Krishi Sinchai Yojana and say, look, these are things done for, reforms here. But then, apart from these supply side reforms, there are demand side reforms in irrigation. So that's what I was trying to tell you, that 35 words approximately, of course, 5 plus 5 minus. 35 words are covered by just supply side. Another 20-25 words will be covered by demand side, and that will make everything equal to 130-140 words just for technical reforms. But I deliberately do that in case in your paper they don't ask you a question on green revolution, evergreen revolution, but they ask you a question on how technical reforms can improve Indian agriculture and make it more sustainable. Then these 150 words can help you. All right, so I'm just training you how you can use the different things I'm writing on the board for your examination purposes. All right, so then these 150 words can help you out. Coming to this now, demand side means what? How do farmers demand electricity? How are they claiming demand irrigation, or how are they claiming irrigation? So one demand side reform can be encouraging right choice of crop so that you don't grow water intensive crop in a dry land or an arid region. All right, so that is first, right choice of crop, that is avoiding water intensive crop in dry land or arid region. So that is one, that you go for right choice of crops and you avoid water intensive crop in a dry land or arid region. So that is how you promote demand side reforms, that let people demand correctly. One thing is supply side reform, let people supply correctly. Demand side reform is farmers should be trained, educated, so that the right demand for irrigation comes in. Another part of demand side reform is applying right irrigation technique like drip irrigation for row crops. Just one example I'm giving, we can take several examples. Sprinkler irrigation for standing crop and so on. So applying right irrigation techniques like drip irrigation for row crops. If you're growing row crops, like sugarcane kind of crops, go for drip irrigation. They will be costly to install, and that is where government can give support like an infrastructure support. Like government can declare these things as infrastructure areas, give cheaper loans, give installation support, and then promote these developments. So this will mean that less water will be wasted and more productivity will be achieved. This is one example, sprinkler irrigation rather than standing water irrigation. Like if you see in many places in India, rice is still grown with a standing water crop. Now that means methane emanation, so environmentally unsustainable, and means a lot of unnecessary loss of water. Rather, a better idea will be if you allow sprinkler irrigation in those areas, and you get much better water availability compared to what otherwise we get. All right. That's what we think. That paddy cultivation requires standing water, but there are techniques to do paddy cultivation without keeping the standing water over there. Similar seeds. All right. So it is possible to do that. All right. Then the other thing, or the third thing in demand side reforms that we need to do is to make sure that multiple use of crops are not unrecognized. For example, not losing the idea that the crop residue can be used as fodder. So what does that do? It reduces the requirement of water intensive methods to feed your cattle, etc. All right. अभी क्या होता है, बहुत बार लोग cattle feed लाते हैं बाहर से. ये हमारे देश में नया पे फैशन पकड़ रहा है अमीर किसानों में कि कैटल फीड लाते हैं. ये रियलाइज नहीं करते कि वो कैटल फीड अमेरिका में खिलाते हैं क्योंकि बाद में उनको उस कैटल को कल करना होता है, काटना होता है, उसका बीफ खाना होता है. हमें अपने गाय भैंस का बीफ नहीं खाना होता ज़्यादातर केसेस में. सो इन नॉर्मल सिचुएशंस वी आर नॉट गोइंग टू ईट बीफ ऑफ आवर काउ or of our buffalo normally. Now we eat beef in India, but not as much like the Americans do. So Americans give them cattle feed because they want them to get more sturdy, and they want them with more flesh so that they get larger beef out of it. We don't need that cattle feed. Now I'll say, sir, what is your objection to cattle feed? 1 unit of cattle feed uses 6 times more water than what a fodder for cattle uses. And that is the lack of water intensity demand side. All right. So we talk about it like this. Correct choice of cattle feed where farm grown feed should be preferred over processed feed. Correct choice of cattle feed where farm grown feed should be preferred over processed feed. So don't buy a processed cattle feed, buy a farm grown feed and sort things out. All right, so a farm grown feed is more preferred, or should be more preferred over processed feed. Processed feed, again I repeat, the Americans use it, the Europeans use it many places because they use their cattle, again I repeat, for the beef industry. India uses very less amount of cattle for beef production. Buffaloes are the more sought after cattle for beef production. Cow beef in any case is not allowed in India since 1951. We made a lot of noise about it in the last 7-8 years, but then it was not allowed in India since 51. But buffalo beef has been allowed in India. We are also one of the exporters of buffalo beef to the world, and we are in fact quite a large exporter. Even last year we exported $3 billion of buffalo beef, and the smile on me is different. You bear with me. I find a lot of fun everywhere, but I'll tell you why the smile on my face. The intelligent people who write on Twitter or who would write on social media, they don't do their whole research. So somebody was writing once on Twitter that, look, this government claims that it is a government for Hindutva and beef export is $3.2 billion. The mother cow is asking for help. Now the fellow doesn't know that we can't do cow beef export. And mother cow in any case is asking for help because we are leaving them on road to roam around. तो वो तो help मांग ही रहे हैं. हम इंसानों ने इंटरफेयर ही इतना कर दिया है, जो हमारे पसंद के आने वाले हैं उनको ज़रूरत से ज़्यादा ग्रो करवा दिए. You know, those animals whom we preferred, cows, dogs, horses, they are much more than what nature permits. Those animals which we didn't prefer, tigers, lion, now we bring cheetah, you know, but we didn't allow them. So humans have interfered like that. So animals are moving around, no doubt about it. Animals are in trouble because this is the age of Anthropocene. You know, so humans are heavily interfering in the whole natural system. So without any doubt, I mean, humans have bred like anything. मैं आपको पहले भी बता चुका हूँ, we have grown to 8 billion people now from less than 3 billion people at the time of Second World War. So that is huge growth that humans have achieved in terms of population itself. So bringing it on, why only one animal? I mean, there are multiple animals crying for help. But we made it a political issue, of course, and that's something that to be honest, I don't approve of. Because even if somebody says that cow beef should not be allowed in India, well, should not be is a wrong statement. It is not allowed in India. You know, the point is that. तो उसमें जब पढ़े लिखे लोग ऐसी हरकत करते हैं तो मुझे और आश्चर्य लगता है, क्योंकि पढ़े लिखे लोगों का काम होना चाहिए दूसरे जो नहीं कम पढ़े लिखे हैं या पढ़ लिख कर भी नहीं पढ़े लिखे हैं उनको समझाना कि तुम गलत बात कर रहे हो. You know, this is a wrong thing that you are talking. You are educated, then why do you talk like this? So we don't have that, but beef exports from India have still been quite high. But that is buffalo beef export. All right, that is the aspect of it. That is buffalo beef export that has still been high. Cow beef not to be sold in India has been a rule in India since 1951. So there's nothing new in India. You know, why does it pick up then apart from the political gains? Why do people start supporting it apart from the sociological factors? I'll quickly tell you one economic factor for it. When assets are divided on the basis of religion and you want one particular religion to dominate, then you try deciding that with the other religion has a particular set of assets. Try removing that control on assets. You know, like in India, very often you would see in rural areas that land holdings will be very commonly with the people who believe that they are Hindus, and cow and cattle and all that trade will be with people who believe they are Muslims. I use the word belief because it's belief, isn't it? Finally. You know, तो इसीलिए मैं word belief use करता हूँ. तुम्हें लगता है ना कि तुम हिंदू हो या मुस्लिम हो, practicing तो हो नहीं. कौन सा सारे नियम पालन करते हो? तो जब practicing नहीं हो तब तो तुम्हें लगता है, किसी ने बता, या क्रिश्चियन हो या सिख हो, किसी ने बता दिया कि तुम ये हो, उनको भी किसी और ने बता दिया कि वो ये हैं. जो भी हो, मेरे पेरेंट्स ने मुझे बताया मैं हिंदू हूँ, मेरे पेरेंट्स को उनके पेरेंट्स ने बता दिया वो हिंदू हैं, उनके पेरेंट्स को उनके पेरेंट्स ने बता दिया. 700-800 साल पीछे चले जाओ, फैमिली लिनियज खत्म हो जाएगी. उसके पहले क्या थे पता नहीं, लेकिन अब 800 साल की बिलीफ है, ऐसे कैसे हटेगी? वो लॉजिक थोड़ी जाता है. इट्स एन 800-year-old बिलीफ, you know, so it won't go across. So that's understandable, you know, that I don't resist also. But I'm just explaining to you why I use the word people who believe. But that is my reason of using this word, that people who believe. कास्ट के ऊपर भी मेरा यही बिलीफ है कि जब लोग कहते हैं मैं इस कास्ट से हूँ तो मुझे यही मजा आता है कि अच्छा तू खुद को पता तो है नहीं कहाँ से है, लेकिन मान लो, मानने में क्या है. So that is okay. Now point is that when you talk about this whole belief system, what happens is if now somebody wants that a particular religion doesn't dominate in the rural areas, then or doesn't get as much dominance, take away the asset. Now how do you take away the asset? You cannot overnight ban it. So what is a good way to take it away? Start showing that this is a bad asset to hold. You understand that? So this is the basic, and this is done in n number of ways. Not only about Hindus and Muslims, it's done various ways. Suppose you are running when I shifted from Vajiram to Next IAS, somebody was writing on Twitter that teachers are shifting for money. But where does money come into picture? I was not teaching at an NGO earlier. I mean, if somebody says, sir, किसी ने मुझे एक mail लिखकर भेजा, sir, I am very hurt that I didn't expect that you will do it for money. Now the fellow didn't even know why do I do it. उनको पता भी नहीं कि मैं ये क्यों कर रहा हूँ, क्या कर रहा हूँ, ये भी ठीक से नहीं पता. क्योंकि उनको ये भी नहीं पता था कि मैं अपना सेंटर सेटअप करने की सोच रहा हूँ. लेकिन खैर वो सब मैं बोलता भी नहीं हूँ, जरूरत भी नहीं है. लेकिन ये सवाल ही क्यों उठा? क्योंकि कुछ लोग इसको परसेप्शन इशू बनाते हैं. इंडिया में सोच कि अरे देखो इन्होंने पैसा के लिए काम किया, तो पहले भी तो मैं पैसा के लिए काम कर रहा था. It was not as if I was working in an NGO teaching children for free. Suddenly now I shift and I start teaching children for money. I taught children for money there. I teach children for money here. I see no difference in that. So you got to be careful on that. That is why when India introduced socialism, we made profit a bad word. मैं कल आपको शुभ लाभ की कहानी सुना रहा था, उसी कहानी का एडिशन कर नहीं सुना रहा था. अच्छा, तो मैं उम्र हो गई है, भूल जाता हूँ, you know. But India never considered, India doesn't have a history of कहानी सुनते ही तुम बोलते हो नहीं सुना है. अभी कोई बोलता है ये पॉइंट लिखवा रहा था, हाँ लिखवा दिया तुमने, लिखवा दिया, खत्म, डन डील, यू हैव मेड अस राइट इट. स्टोरी as soon as I say that, नहीं कहा स्टोरी कहाँ सुनाया तुमने. But anyways, I'll quickly tell you. So India never considered profit a bad word. It is a new socialist entry that India got post 1951. We have our Ganesh Puran, where Shubh and Labh is the words mentioned. Even today you will go to many places, you will see Shubh Labh mentioned. Profit is pure, with the swastika made. Now Shubh and Labh were in Ganesh Puran are mentioned as two children of Lord Ganesha. They are the two sons, and which he has from Riddhi and Siddhi. And then one day Shubh and Labh start going naughty. They start hanging Nandi from Kailash. They start throwing guns down. ये सब करते, गन को फेंक दिया, नंदी को लटका दिया, ये सब करने लगे. Then Lord Ganesha tells his wife that look, Shubh and Labh have become naughty. Let's do something about it. So let us have a daughter who can control them, and we will name that daughter Santoshi. Now, you know what is the moral? Santoshi means contentment. So the moral of this in Ganesh Puran was, profit is pure if pursued with contentment. Now that is India 2000 years ago for you. That we did not say that profit is a bad word. Profit is a good word, but profit not by greed, but profit of contentment. What is profit of contentment? I create value and I earn profit. Imagine if we did not have a Narayan Murthy ji. There would have been no Infosys. But that won't be good news for India. But he works for profit. And there is no harm in that. Imagine if there was no Bill Gates, there was no Steve Jobs, तो अभी यही नहीं हो रहा होता जो हो रहा है. आप में से बहुत लोग स्मार्टफोन पे मुझे देख रहे हो. तो अगर स्टीव जॉब्स नहीं होते तो स्मार्टफोन नहीं होता. And in that case, profit would not have been a driving force. So be careful. Profit is not the bad word. The bad word should be profit through greed, profit through value destruction rather than value creation. Profit through value creation should be a good word. I create value, I do some hard work, earn my profit, create value for others around me. In the process, I will be an entrepreneur, creating jobs for others. But if I'm not doing all that, not fulfilling all those things, then profit. No, but coming back to my point, so you understand that Shubh Labh story. Now, when we had to turn socialist now, what do? You have to make the things in capitalist economy look bad. You have to train your people into that. So now we create a culture in India where people say, oh look, I don't work for profit. No, all of us do. I mean, कभी कभी मैं तुम लोगों को ये कहते सुनता हूँ जो मेरे स्टूडेंट्स होते हैं, सर आई डोंट वांट टू मेक प्रॉफिट, आई वांट टू सर्व द नेशन, दैट इज व्हाई आई वांट टू बी अ सिविल सर्वेंट, बट यू विल टेक योर सैलरी. इट्स नॉट दैट यू विल बी वर्किंग विदाउट टेकिंग योर सैलरी. या तो फ्री में काम करोगे तब तो तुम हुए भगत सिंह, ये तो मैं माना फिर. Then I accept that you are the next Bhagat Singh, that you are now willing to work for free and you will not take a single rupee from the exchequer. But that will not happen. You will take the money from exchequer, so you are taking money for your work. Money-minded log. But we act as if we are not. No, all of us have to work for money because money will give you, revenue will give you, returns will give you sustainability. All of you are contributors, and I'm acknowledging you. I acknowledge you even behind you. All of you are contributors to all the charity work that I am able to do. If you don't come and study and you don't contribute your fee, how do I do my charity work? So you are the source, and my work is the source. But otherwise, if somebody says, no, sir, you know what, I will run an NGO and then I will not work for profit. Perfect, but how will you get your money? You will ask for donations, right? And people giving you donations are earning it. So never underestimate the power of earned money. You know, earned money is the key to development. If humans stop earning, what do you do? I mean, where will the resources come from? But in socialism, because of the blindness to all this theory, somehow they believed money will come from heaven. And therefore they said, oh, profit is a bad word, working for money is a bad word. That is what we were trained in for years in our country. So then it became people worked for money, but still said money is the bad word. And if India is such, or has been such a socialist country, which we are not, I'm sure all of you acknowledge, then how come people are taking bribes? You know, it happened with one of my friends. When that time I had shifted for money, that I accept without any doubt. I was at Delhi School of Economics. I used to teach there. Massachusetts offered me 9 times more money. I shifted to Massachusetts. Now, I got a call from my friend, and he said that why did you shift? We had been together since 9th standard, and thankfully we are still good friends. Since he's in the cadre, I will not name him. Who knows, one day he becomes your senior, you know. So he had qualified his exam, and he called me up. We were talking. It was day of Holi, and he said that why did you shift? You were doing such good, so good there. And I said, look, I couldn't resist. The money offered was huge, and research offers are wonderful, so I shifted. And he said, life is not about money. I asked him a simple question, that life is not about money, but how come with 40,000 rupees salary you have a 1 crore house? And he kept the phone down. My wife got upset also. She said, you don't know how to talk to your friends. I said, no, this is how you talk to friends, heart to heart. I mean, why should I hold myself while talking to a friend? The day he maybe he doesn't have an answer to my question today. The day he will have an answer, he will call me back. And actually within 6-7 months, he called me back on the day of Diwali. He told me first 4-5 things I can't tell you. It was not parliamentary. Then of course, we started talking, and he said, yes, I didn't have an answer to what you were saying. So why remain hypocritical about money is what I'm trying to tell you. Let's not be hypocritical about money. Money is a driving force. Money is not the only driving force, without any doubt. There are more driving forces. So sometimes when you understand what I am talking, it gives me a much bigger high than what any money can give me. Sometimes when I get some good messages from you that say you were useful to me, I find a bigger high than what money can give me. But that doesn't mean that I can start. If you are economic students, and those of you who are not pure economic students will get it very soon when I teach you micro, but those of you who have studied economics, if somebody says I am a workaholic and I love working, then they should pay money to work. Because for everything good, we pay money. So that is a contradiction term called workaholic. We all take money to work. That is the trade-off. I am working, giving my time, giving my effort, give me money in return. Wage rate or profit rate. तुम्हें फुटबॉल देखना अच्छा लगता है, पैसा दे के देखते हो ना? You like watching movie, you pay money and watch. You like watching cricket, you pay money and watch. You love going to a picnic, you pay money and go. If I love teaching, I should pay money and teach. As simple as that. So if I am taking money from you, I am doing a professional activity here, I can't forget that. It's a professional activity happening. I'm telling you deliberately, God willing, you become officers, don't forget that. You're taking money, it's a responsibility. You have put your faith in me, you have put your money into me, it's a professional work now. This has to be done. As good as what is my caliber. I have to do it as good as possible. I'm doing no favor to anyone out here but myself. So that is the point. If India learns that, India grows quickly. Unfortunately, India doesn't learn it. We remain hypocritical about money. Ethics का lecture पढ़ के, exam pass करके, और तब dowry मांगते हैं. तो ये learning experience नहीं है, ये सिखा रहा था. But anyway, sorry for the digression. But just told you this because I want you to understand that that is the story also created for the beef part in India, that some people want to do it economically, socially, other aspects are there, and therefore the talks that come in. But again, even if we want to feed our cattle, cattle feed is not the right thing to do, another point to keep in mind. Now these are the technological reforms. On institutional reforms, I have already given you some detailed write-ups, so I'm not making you write anything. But if you will go to your next page, you will see, I'll just take 1 second. With the point 3 and 4, with the points 3 and 4, please write with both of them institutional reforms. Point 3 and 4, they are institutional reforms. And with point 3, please add a line to that. With point 3, तुम ऐड कर लो फिर मुझे दे देना. You add a line to that, point 3, improving the credit system, improving the credit system and improving insurance system. Improving insurance system. So remember, it's about financial development, the institutions to create financial systems. All right, the institutions to create a financial inclusion. So create a credit system, like say a Kisan credit card, that is what can help. Or create a credit system like a priority sector lending for farming. Create a credit system. For example, if you create small loans through the farmer self-help groups. So this is institutional reform. एक है टेक्निकल रिफॉर्म, तकनीकी सुधार. एक है इंस्टीट्यूशनल रिफॉर्म, संस्थागत सुधार. संस्थागत सुधार मतलब ऐसी संस्थाएं बनाइए जिससे कि किसानों को आसानी से मदद की जा सके. ऑलराइट, institutional reforms mean make such institutions, develop an institutional mechanism where the farmers are not dependent on somebody's help. Say for example, when you give insurance support to farmers, now the farmers don't bother if the crop goes bad. They will not have to depend on a loan waiver scheme. The insurance company will pay the loan for them. You understand that? So that is the aspect where if you make it institutionalized, continuous in nature, not dependent on discretion of an individual, then you create a better support for the people in agriculture. So in the third point I'm explaining to you, you just listen to me. So one is credit support. If you can give credit support to the farmers, then that helps quite a bit. Credit support, as I just told you, Kisan credit card, priority sector lending through microcredit institutions to small self-help groups of the farmers. These are all credit support that we can give to the farmers. What will that credit support do? Why do we want that to happen? Imagine that credit support will mean that farmers will not be dependent on money lenders anymore to take their loans. That means the extra interest that they have to pay to the money lenders will not be in picture anymore. You understand that? The extra interest that they have to pay to the money lenders will not be in picture anymore. What is the benefit of that? Or why is that important? That will encourage the farmers to then do crop diversification. Then the farmers will start shifting away from crops like wheat and rice to some costlier crops like say horticulture or oil seeds, which can give them better money also. So that is the aspect of farmers shifting to other crop diversification. But to make sure that the farmers completely take a decision to shift and the farmers become entrepreneurs in their character, I can use the word entrepreneurs, I can believe all of us understand that. So farmers become entrepreneurs in their character. What you also need is give them insurance support. When you give the farmers insurance support, it means farmers can now be encouraged to take small risks. Because remember, horticultural crops or oil seeds, they are more prone to pest infestation. They are more prone to bigger loss because they are costlier seeds, they are costlier crops. So the cost of growing them is already high. If any loss happens, then the loss will be huge. If we can give the farmers insurance support, we again make it better for them, because in that case they would know that by chance if something wrong happens to my crop, I am not at the mercy of some government waiver, etc. I will be getting my money from the insurance company. You understand that? So crop diversification, allowing farmers to take small risks, letting farmers earn better by letting them grow high value crops. All this is possible if we allow better credit support and better insurance support. All right, so better credit support and better insurance support like a Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. That is an insurance support. It should be scaled up gradually. That more people should be brought into beneficiary status. People should be informed about the relevance of insurance, the importance that it can create. So once it does that, I repeat again, crop diversification, allowing farmers to then grow different crops, taking small risks by the farmer to grow high value crops, and higher expenditure to be done by the farmer to earn higher returns. All these three things become possible. Crop diversification, making higher expenditure to earn high value returns, and taking small risks to earn high value returns. This is the way you can turn a farmer into entrepreneur. This is a way you can turn the farmer into entrepreneur. I can believe we understand it till here? Okay. This is one institutional reform. The other institutional reform is marketing reform. I'm just speaking on that at the moment. I will give you a very detailed discussion of marketing reforms in India when I'm teaching you India after 91, and we will be discussing the APMC market. All right, so I'm deliberately not doing a detailed discussion right now. I will be doing it with you in India after 1991. But right now, what is the marketing reform we need to do? First of all, giving farmers better accessibility to the market, allowing them to access the market quicker, not leaving them dependent on only the middlemen or the traders whom we call arhatyas. That is one marketing reform, that giving more accessibility. How do you give farmers more accessibility to the market? By developing marketing infrastructure near the farmers. We have 7 lakh villages in India, and we have 7,000 APMC markets. You can imagine the accessibility. The ratio is 100:1. That also, if you recall, yesterday I told you, is not evenly spread. It is not that every 100 village has one APMC. So in some regions there is hardly any APMC structure. In some there are multiple. So but then even if we consider the multiple, still 7 lakh villages in India today and 7,000 APMC markets. That's still too low. Then government says, all right, to reach out to the farmers, we have also created Grameen Rural Agricultural Market. That's called GRAM. Grameen Rural Agricultural Markets. But 22,000 gram. Now if you add APMC and gram, it is still only 29,000. Government says, all right, we have also created agricultural mandis. But then there are hardly 30,000 mandis. Now imagine, over 7 lakh villages, still the number of markets is not even 70,000. Now the farmer is not expected to carry, especially the small farmer or the marginal farmer. Suppose the fellow has 5 kg extra of a particular crop. The person is not expected to carry this 5 kg over a distance of 5 villages, no? The fellow will try disposing it off in the same village, and that results in lesser returns. So marketing reforms in that sense. Also, better marketing infrastructure. That's another thing needed. What is a better marketing infrastructure? Weighing facility, grading facility, measurement facility. These facilities should be available closer home. Then only schemes like ENAM can work. Do I believe you have heard of ENAM? Electronic National Agricultural Market. So ENAM can work if you provide better gradation facility, better weighing facility. Then the traders at a distance will have a trust, no? That okay, what we are seeing is correct. We can also think about buying it. But if that is not happening, then ENAM also doesn't work. So what I'm trying to teach you is, we need to do marketing reforms, give farmers more avenues to sell, bring contract farming in agriculture, have better regulations, rules for that, make sure there is better infrastructure of marketing in agriculture, and better accessibility of the farmer to the market. If we do all that, then that is what we call agricultural marketing reform. That is another institutional reform in agriculture. I need you to write another point as institutional reform. It's a small point, but that will be your 6th point. This is the 3rd point on institutional. I'll just make you write this and then you can ask me. ठीक है, उसके बाद पूछ लेना. ये सब कुछ actually यहाँ fit रहता है. तो मैं चाहता नहीं हूँ कुछ lose out कर जाऊँ. All right, so just write this and you can ask me. You write this up. The 3rd point. This is 3rd point on institutional reforms. 6th point otherwise. No, actually what? There were 3 points on technical reforms. मैंने एक seed भी डाला था बीच में. All right? आप chronology समझिए. The first point was on soil, second seed, third irrigation, three technical. Now I am talking about fourth was about with respect to institutional reforms in the context of developing more credit financial facilities. Fifth, marketing facilities. Now sixth. I hope I am clear on things now. Okay, let's see this then. So you write that provision of extension services. मैं लिख देता हूं. तुमने बात शुरू की सॉयल, सीड, irrigation. These are your three technological reforms. Then we talked credit and insurance, then marketing. All right, these are your institutional reforms. ये 4 और 5 जो हैं. And then extension service in agriculture. Extension service in agriculture. Extension service in agriculture. Right, Abhimanyu, I'd seen it too. Correct, Vikas? We will discuss ENAM, Vikas, that will be separate. It's post 91. Let's not, mix it up right now. Right, the forward and backward linkages of marketing reforms was asked last year in agriculture, but that will become, a contract farming we will do separately, Manas, we wait on that. I'm just using the names right now, but we will wait on that. All right, I don't want to discuss them out of sequence, that's all. If I just thrust them right now, it won't help you immediately. Now see, when we say extension services in agriculture, what it means is you are giving farmers the support with respect to weather report, with respect to soil quality, with respect to marketing information. You understand that? So when you give the farmers information which is better, when you give the farmers better accessibility to technology, when you allow the farmers connectivity to agricultural research, all these are extension services. So you write in that, local government, self-help groups of farmers, microcredit institutions, and similar bodies can be made, the link to assure that farmers get extension services like better information on weather report, soil quality, availability of storage, marketing facility, choice of crop, choice of crop, etc. This will help in improving productivity of farmers, comma, increasing crop diversification and promoting sustainable agriculture practices. Promoting sustainable agricultural practices. Sustainable agricultural practices. All right. So remember, if they ask you something on evergreen revolution, these 6 parts become your content. All right. But it's possible sometimes they can ask you only institutional reforms, sometimes they can ask you only technical reforms. All right, that's a possibility. So beware. Sometimes they can also connect it to government schemes. For example, they can ask you to highlight technical reforms, highlighting the steps taken by the government to achieve it. Now that I will teach you when I teach you India after 91, like schemes like Krishi Sinchai Yojana, Soil Health Card Scheme, Fasal Bima Yojana, all these, or PM Kusum. We will discuss these schemes as we go in India after 91, but this is the way they frame questions. All right. Now, when we talk on these, again, if this was a topic I was discussing in a GS paper, I would not be going into demand side, supply side details of irrigation. All right, I'll simply say irrigation, this much should be done and controlled and so on. Similarly, I will not be talking about extension services much. I'm talking about a GS paper. In a GS paper on financial market part, I would not have gone into details of developing entrepreneurship among farmers and all. All right, so that is what I'm just trying to teach you how your writings should also distinguish between a GS paper 3 and optional paper 2. In an optional paper 2, you can use words like entrepreneur, words like trade-off, words like incremental capital output ratio without any problem. But in a GS paper 3, if you use such words, you should explain them. Otherwise, don't use them. You understand that? Because what happens is, as economics becomes our lingo, which it will for you also in the next 4 months of training. So as economics becomes our language, we sometimes believe we are writing like laymen, but we are writing like economists. That is what starts happening. I need you to be careful on that. All right, that it becomes our language, and that becomes a problem part. जैसे आप देखना, जब हमें आदत होती है economics बोलने की, तो हम कभी-कभी कुछ terms जैसे हम बोलते हैं, oh, I was suffering from an externality the other day. And we don't even realize that this is not a common language word. You understand that? So that is the idea, and I can tell you that with all conviction. It becomes worse when your partner is also an economist. Then there is nobody to correct you also that you are using some Greek Latin language. Use a human language. So be careful in your paper 3 and paper 2, that is optional paper 2. That difference should be maintained. Now I take you further. We talk about role of investment in agriculture. Do I hear a sir? Yes, yes. Because to grow that cattle feed, you use water. Because ultimately all cattle feed is grown on the field only. भूसा जैसे होता है ना, ये भूसा आएगा खेत से ही. अब वो भूसा हो या प्रोसेस्ड कैटल फीड हो. हाँ, चोकर. अच्छा, एक बात सोचो, मैं तुम्हें एक एग्जाम्पल देता हूँ. फसल जला क्यों देते हैं? वो भूसा तो इस्तेमाल होगा जानवर को खिलाने में. ट्रेड ऑफ है. That you can buy the feed for the cattle cheaper as compared to the money you will have to spend and the time you will have to spend for clearing the field. You understand that? तो खेत से ही आता है, but incentive disincentive decide करते हैं कि तुम टेक्निक कौन सा यूज करो. All right. दोनों. But one nation, one fertilizer is institutional. That you're trying to create an institutional mechanism by which everybody is trained into how to use fertilizers, how much to use it, and same kind of dose can be given to all the people. All right, but so that is more an institutional reform. Government changing the institution to assure that proper fertilizer use can be practiced. All right. I'll just take a minute. Yes, yes. See, any change that you bring will always initially help people who are already better off. But when you bring these reforms, suppose when you bring sustainability in irrigation, or you bring sustainability in, say, soil use, or you bring sustainability with respect to credit facilities, then it's not only large farmers, but even small farmers who gain, because insurance or credit helps the small farmers more than the large farmers. But that's what we are saying, that give them that capability by allowing small loans. That is credit inclusion, no? That when you say credit facilities, nobody says give credit only to the larger ones. You're trying to say that give credit to people so that it reduces their cost of borrowing. And we imply, when I told you, I said that it has crop diversification and all to be done by the small farmers. Give them accessibility to the market. See, the rich farmers already have accessibility to the market. And the rich farmers already have accessibility to credit. So these talks are mostly about the small farmers. All right? Yes, yes. इसीलिए एक्सटेंशन सर्विस की बात हो रही है. We know that many farmers are not educated and therefore you need extension services. You understand that? All right. Now we talk about role of capital formation in agriculture. In our talks on agriculture, that is the last part that our syllabus suggests, role of investment or capital formation in agriculture. Sometimes they also ask you about the trends in it in India. All right. Sometimes they ask, I'll cover all that with you. Yes, it is a part of institutional reforms. Praharsh. So, you know, when we say role of investment, there are 2-3 ways of looking at it. One, I'll give you a small write-up on that. I'll again borrow your. So on your last page, I have given you how investment happened in India, you know, and I'll teach you that also. Now, before that, understand this. और मैं आपको एक अलग से भी write-up दूंगा इसके अलावा. ये जो है आपके पास ये तो है ही, but I'll give you a write-up so that again you can have a 250 words prepared for yourself. But there are 3 possible questions that they can ask from here. One is, what is the role of investment? How can investment help in agriculture? But this question cannot be alone. This question has to be accompanied by some other factor. But one possibility is that. Second, trend of public and private investment in agriculture. Trend of public and private investment in agriculture. As in, how much is the government investment in agriculture? How much has been the private investment in agriculture? And what is the role of these investments towards each other? That does public investment crowd out private investment, or does public investment crowd in private investment? That kind of another question they can ask you. And third can be specific to the last 20-25 years, when they can ask us about how investment has changed in agriculture in India post-liberalization. Now this discussion I will do with you right now itself, because this is a very small topic, otherwise we might miss on that later. So I'm covering this entire discussion on role of investment in agriculture, starting 1951 till 2021. All right, that how investment has improved, done things, and what is the role. So first, one thing I'm making you write, which is not in your notes, that is, what is the role of investment in agriculture? So you write in this, you write, investment in agriculture can take place in all stages, comma, ranging from pre-harvesting okay, actually first you write pre-sowing then pre-harvesting, ranging from pre-sowing फसल बोने के पहले, pre-sowing, comma, pre-harvesting, that is after sowing and before harvesting, and to post-harvesting, It includes provision of irrigation facilities, Now see, irrigation facility means mainly it begins pre-harvesting. It will be pre-sowing. It can be post-sowing also, of course, but even before sowing your crop, you need the field to be irrigated. All right, so irrigation facilities, comma, land mixing facility. I can believe you understand land mixing. Mixing the soil. All right, making sure that proper soil composition is developed, humus content is brought in. There is land mixing facility, comma, crop protection like fencing facility, comma, storage facility, comma, measurement and grading facility, that is agmark kind of grading. All right, measurement and grading facility, and marketing facility, full stop. It also includes presence of electrification, for cold storage chain, and established transportation network, for connectivity to the market. Established transportation network for connectivity to the market. All right, so this is about what all is rural investment. You write in that it has following roles. In cropping system. First, it increases crop productivity. It increases crop productivity due to assured supply of irrigation. Second, it reduces risk of farming. It reduces risk of farming with assured irrigation. I'm repeating myself. It reduces risk of farming with assured irrigation, comma, fencing of the field, and storage facility for crop. Third, it reduces wastage of crops. It reduces wastage of crops and therefore contributes to farmers' profit, by reducing cost of doing business. And fourth, it encourages better choice of crop. I am repeating myself. It encourages better choice of crops. What does better choice of crop mean? Based on agroclimatic region. Alright, so better choice of crop and higher crop diversification combined with more production of high value crops because it is safer and more rewarding with better storage and marketing infrastructure. Better storage and marketing infrastructure. And then you write one more. Public investment in agriculture. I can believe we understand public investment means government making these investments. Public investment in agriculture promotes inclusive growth. Public investment in agriculture promotes inclusive growth because it reduces the cost of farming for small farmers. I'll tell you what I mean by the last point. What I mean by the last point is, if you do public investment in agriculture, suppose if government provides good facilities of irrigation, if government provides good facilities of land mixing, if government provides good facilities of storage, then remember, otherwise the farmer has to buy all these things. If the government provides these things, the farmer will not have to buy these things. These things will be available to the farmer at a cheaper rate by the government. And that reduces cost of doing business. What is the benefit of that? A big benefit is agriculture becomes a less risky operation then. I'll tell you a quick story there. And I'll tell you that story even in public-private contribution to investment also. Story is like this. 1950 to 1970, agricultural investments remained very low in India. All right, both public and private. They were pretty low. Why? Because agriculture was a low-level activity. Equilibrium levels were pretty low. Nobody was interested in high farm productivity. Farmers were subsistence farmers. Commercial crops were grown here and there, but they were also grown more with land as the primary factor rather than technology. This was 1950 to 70s. 1970 to 80, the Green Revolution started spreading. The government realized, look, it's working good for us, because don't forget, the farmers were not in a position to take impetus for Green Revolution. That impetus had to come from the government side. So the government said, all right, look, it's working good for us. Let's go for Green Revolution. So 70 to 80, that starts happening. That farmers start going for Green Revolution and government starts supporting more. So government starts establishing institutional reforms, like government starts creating regional rural banks or NABARD. Government also starts APMC. Government creates a food corporation of India. All this support given by the government, marketing, etc. Government also creates support for some small insurances for farmer, not much, but here and there, especially for cash crops. All this starts happening in 70s and 80s. Most importantly, government goes on a big spree for developing irrigation facilities. Not only big dams were of course a reality, but apart from big dams, government was also going hammer and tongs in developing borewell facilities and in developing pond irrigation facilities, tank irrigation facilities. Now 70s were heavily devoted to that. And then storage facilities development by the end of 70s, early 80s. So what it did was, agricultural investment was also there, private investment. What was the private sector investing in? Private storage, or buying a tractor, or buying a thresher, or some processing unit. This was private investment. But imagine now what happens. Since government invested so much, 1980 to 1990 was one of the fastest growth period of Indian agriculture. We were growing at something like 3.8, 3.9% per annum that had never been experienced till then in Indian agriculture. Indian agriculture had never grown at 3.9% per annum consistently for 10 years. Now, that was one factor, real growth rate, not nominal. That was one thing which was happening, 1980 to 90. And what was good about it? If I am a farmer, now I get support on irrigation, I get support on fertilizer, I get support on, from the government of course, on storage facility, marketing facility. So my cost of doing business is low. If my cost of doing business is low, I will make some decent return for myself, even if price is low. मैं पहुंच पा रहा हूं आप तक? या धनवंतरी हावी हो गए हैं आप पे? So, if my cost of doing business is low, then in that case, even if my returns are low, my price is less, my profits can be decent. Now, this was India's agriculture till 1991. 1991, we go for economic reforms, and now we implement policies across. One of the policies under structural reform program of IMF was control your fiscal deficit. Now the government had to make a choice. Continue with investment along with giving some subsidies, or start increasing the subsidies, because subsidies, mind you, can still be more populistic in nature. People immediately get it and they still immediately feel, oh, I got ingratiated. Investments take time, and investments can sometimes be quite futile. People may not ever realize that they got benefited because the government invested. अगर आपको लगता है ये कैसी बात कही आपने आखिरी बात, आप कितनी बार थैंक यू कहते हो सरकार को कि आप यहाँ सेफ्टी फील कर रहे हो? How many times does it come to our mind? Thank you, government, for keeping us safe. I can freely sit in a basement of a classroom and an old man can come and teach, and we never bother about being looted or being killed. It's all such a scenario. But why not rich people sitting here, having something in their hand? कुछ नहीं तो आपकी घड़ी ही मिल जाएगी, किसी को बेच देंगे उसको 500 रुपए का, आपका मोबाइल फोन छीन लेंगे, 15-20 हज़ार रुपए मिल जाएंगे, 10,000 मिल जाएंगे, 2,000 मिल जाएंगे. तो 50 लोगों का मॉब आया, आपका भी छीन के लग गया, मुझे तो पीटा भी अलग से, मेरा भी छीन के. क्या मेरे पिटाई पे, यही देखना चाहता था मैं. क्या खुशी हुई तुम्हें मेरी पिटाई की बात सुनकर. इसीलिए मैंने ये ऐड ही किया. But anyways, jokes apart, what I'm trying to tell you is that we don't realize, that is my limited point, we don't realize that this is a protection we are getting from the system. When you see a person from the police even talking to somebody who is, say, on the road, immediately I see many in India saying, oh, the fellow must be taking bribe. Now we are not thanking the police for keeping us safe. We must thank it. सोचो अगर पुलिस अपना ड्यूटी ठीक से नहीं करे तो हम ये सेफली बातचीत नहीं कर सकते हैं ना. ये तो नहीं करते हम थैंक यू पुलिस को जाकर, that sir, thank you for keeping us safe, because you are doing your duties diligently. We are feeling safe, we are interacting properly, a big crowd can gather and no law and order issue is expected. So that is about investment by the government in law and order, investment by the government in, say, when you see that your road is clean every day, somebody is doing it. Investment by the government with respect to a clean water supply where people don't start, I'm not saying there is a virtue in it, this is job of the government, but if they do it well, they should be credited for it. But as normal laymen, we don't credit them for it. That's the role of investment. You understand that? But imagine अभी यही सरकार घोषित कर, अभी भी लोग कहते हैं मोदी जी मेरा 15 लाख कब देंगे. Think about it. मतलब अभी सरकार बोल दे आपको 2,000 रुपया दे रहे हैं, सडनली लगेगा ओह सरकार कितना अच्छा, 2,000 दे रहे हैं मुझे. Government is giving me 2,000, not realizing that actually it is just another way of helping me. Investment is another way of helping me. So if you are a government now and you have to make a choice that your expenditures have to be curtailed, which one will you choose? Doing continuous investments more and more, or now shifting from investment to subsidy? Subsidy. Now the vocal farmers, the rich farmers, the bigger farmers, they don't mind that. They say, all right, shift to subsidy. We are in any case growing more, so we can take more fertilizer subsidy, and there is a higher MSP, so we can sell at that higher MSP. So we don't make a loss, but what does it make agriculture now? Now agriculture becomes a high cost activity. Now as a farmer I have to buy irrigation. Now as a farmer I have to buy storage. Now as a farmer I have to buy transportation. I have to buy marketing facilities. All this adds to my cost. Government says, don't worry, you incur these expenditures, grow your crop, bring it to us, we will buy it at a higher MSP. What's the problem? You understand that? But who will be happy in this? The richer one, the bigger farmer. But what happens to the smaller farmer? The smaller farmer realizes, A, they don't produce that much surplus that they can always sell to the government, but B, more importantly, now they incur the expenditure on irrigation, storage, crop protection, everything. They have taken the risk. Where will the money come from to incur this expenditure? They will borrow. Where are they borrowing majorly from? From the money lender, high interest cost added to all this. And now if the crop goes bad, they are gone. You understand that? In a low price, low cost agriculture, this is not the threat. अगर खेती करने पे मेरा खर्चा कम हो रहा है, तो अगर बाई किसी कारण से मेरी फसल खराब भी हो गई, तो मुझे ये खतरा नहीं है कि मैं बर्बाद हो जाऊंगा क्योंकि मैंने बहुत लोन ले रखा है. So pre-91 agriculture was like that even if my cost of production is less, even if I have a bad crop one year, or one time, I know, okay, it's not unsustainable. I've had a bad crop. I made a loss, no doubt, but it is not demolishing me. But now imagine if I've taken loans, spent a lot, done a high cost, and then the crop goes bad. Even if I am a net seller of crop, I'm gone. And this is the danger of Indian agriculture post 91 due to lack of government investment and addition of subsidies continuously. This problem resulted in driving the farmers to less productivity. Between 1991 and 2005, Indian agriculture grew at around 2%, 2.2% per annum. Now that was the growth rate of Indian agriculture for 15 years. Obviously, if agriculture doesn't grow, your industry can't sustain its growth very long. So from 98, 99, industrial growth started sliding down and economic growth. Hamara high growth phase tha 92 to 97. 97 onwards, the growth started sliding down again. Why? Because agriculture had been doing badly and majority of population was in agriculture. Then people realized what was happening. They realized by 2002, there were Professor R. Nagaraj, was one big vocal proponent. Ranade, Ajit Ranade, he was another proponent. These were economists who started finding it out, and they said, look, in the last 10, 11 years, government's investment in agriculture has gone down, and that is resulting in less returns. Even though private investment had gone up. It was not that private investment had not gone up, because big farmers were getting high returns. So private investment had gone up. But mind you, private investment remains with the private investor. If I create crop protection, I'll create for my crop. Why would I do it for your field? But if government does it, it will do it for everybody. You understand that? So that became a factor. So in 2005, after Swaminathan Commission report, the government again revived agricultural investment. And from 2005 to 2015, again public investment started picking up in agriculture. And again between 2007 to 2012, Indian agriculture showed a growth of 4% per annum, 3.5% to 4%. From 2015 to 2018, public investment in agriculture again came down a little. And unfortunately, private investment came down further. So it was a 3-year period in which public and private both investment came down. And the result was agricultural growth in India became less between 15-16, 16-17, 17-18 in spite of a normal monsoon. That we had normal monsoon, but farmland growth or agricultural growth was below 3% in all this time period. Again, people revived agricultural system. 18-19, 17-18 onwards, investment revived in agriculture. Public investment again, and private investment then also picked up. So from 17-18, public investment has picked up, and from 19-20, सालों की बात कर रहा हूँ मैं. Alright. So from 19-20, the growth started picking up in agriculture. 2019-20, agricultural growth 3.9%. 2020-21, COVID year, agricultural growth close to 4%. 21-22, last year, agricultural growth 3.6%. High agricultural growth recorded in the last 3 years, again with public investment picking up. Moral of the story is, whenever public investment is high in India, we see agricultural growth also high, and we see private investment also high. And whenever public investment goes down in India, we see that even if private investment is high, agricultural growth is low. Do I believe this story is understood? I'm making you write a part of this story. One part of this story I have already given you till 1980. Alright, till 1980, I have given it to you. And then there is a correction in your notes. Please do that. In evaluation of public investment, in the third paragraph, you will see between 1980 to 2005. You see that? In this, I am making you write few things. तो आप यहाँ पर एक slash या कुछ put कर दो. Here onwards, I am making you write things. Starting 1980 till 1970-80, the story is fine. What I'm actually doing is I am breaking it between 80 to 90, then 90 to 2005, then 2005 to 15, 15 to 18, 18 to 21. So you will have the entire trend with yourself in that manner. So that is what I'm trying to do. All right. So you just give a heading in your copy, 1980 to 1990. 1980 to 1990. And you write agricultural investment was higher in this time period mainly backed by high public investment. High public investment. Full stop. Public investment in agriculture is was 8% of agricultural GDP. I can believe you understand agricultural GDP. That is GDP created in agriculture. All right, whatever output was created in agriculture. So of agricultural GDP, while private investment was 2% of agricultural GDP. 2% of agricultural GDP. In the same thing, you write public investment was in development of transportation, electrification, storage facility, marketing facility, and irrigation facility. Full stop. Private investment was mainly restricted to machines and equipments, crop protection, and storage facilities. Full stop. Agricultural growth was recorded at 3.8% per annum for the decade, comma, which was the highest India had recorded till then, which was the highest India had recorded till then. In the same thing, you write now you write 1990 to 2005. 1990 to 2005, the next time period. 1990 to 2005. You write, after liberalization, investment pattern in agriculture showed a shift away from dominance of public investment to that of private investment. Dominance of public investment to that of private investment. Full stop. Total investment remained stable at 10% of GDP, but 10% of agricultural GDP, correction, at 10% of agricultural GDP, but now private investment contributed 8% of agricultural GDP, and public investment contributed 2% of agricultural GDP. This was because and you can take it as ABC. So A, the government started providing more subsidies in agriculture. The government started providing more subsidies in agriculture, comma, which resulted in making agriculture relatively more rewarding for large farmers. Second point, you write, government's capacity to invest reduced government's capacity to invest reduced because it had to keep fiscal deficit in control, because it had to keep fiscal deficit in control under macroeconomic stabilization reforms. Under macroeconomic stabilization reforms. Third, you write, terms of trade had shifted in favor of agriculture. Terms of trade had shifted in favor of agriculture. This is terms of trade. Price of agricultural goods as a ratio of price of industrial goods. All right? That is what we call terms of trade. Price of agricultural goods as a ratio of price of industrial goods. Mind you, if it is less than 1, then it implies unfavorable to agriculture. क्योंकि इसका मतलब एग्रीकल्चरल गुड्स सस्ते बिक रहे हैं ज़्यादा, इंडस्ट्रियल गुड कॉस्टलियर हैं, तो जो फार्मर्स हैं उनको ज़्यादा पैसा देना पड़ रहा है खरीदने को. If it is less than 1, it means agricultural goods are cheaper, industrial goods are costlier, and farmers have to spend more money to buy that. So between 1980 to 1990, this was 0.9, that agricultural goods were cheaper and industrial goods were costlier. But between 1990 now to 2001, this changes and this rises to greater than 1. This now becomes 1.1, suggesting that now agricultural goods were costlier. There is a reason for that. Try understanding that reason. Post-economic reforms, we allowed for cheaper imports, we allowed for more competition in industry, so industrial prices started falling. All right? Post-economic reforms, we allowed for cheaper imports, we allowed for comparatively more competitiveness in industry, so industrial price started falling. And post-economic reforms, I was just telling you the story, we went for higher MSP and we made agriculture a high cost thing, so agricultural prices started rising. So now the terms of trade was in favor of agriculture. Many people in policy making assumed that now the farmers overall are doing well, so government doesn't need to give more more investment in agriculture. All right, I'll tell you how it was decoded. पॉलिसी मेकिंग में इसको डिकोड किया गया कि जो किसान हैं वो अच्छा कर रहे हैं, उनके रिटर्न्स हायर आ रहे हैं, इसीलिए प्राइवेट इन्वेस्टमेंट बढ़ रहा है. द पॉलिसी मेकर्स डिकोडेड इट एज दैट द फार्मर्स आर डूइंग वेल, their terms of trade is better, and since they are doing well, that is why private investment is rising in agriculture, and since private investment is rising, what's the need for the government to invest? That became a policy theory in those days, and then agricultural investment started reducing. Yes, yes. Or is it harmful for the middle class people living in urban areas? But that's what I'm saying. That do we want to punish the producer for that? And what rise are we then considering it? This is a very relevant question I'm answering. This question is often raised in many circles, that if agricultural goods prices rise, then it's harming the economy. But again, that's a typical remnant of socialist thinking. Typical remnant. What is socialist thinking generally based on? Again, if you are a socialist, you bear with me. You know, I'm not criticizing the theory, but the thought process that comes with it naturally. Industrial workers have to grow good. Industrialization has to happen quickly. How do you make workers transition from agriculture to industry quickly? Where? In industry. But what else? Lower cost of living for them. If you keep the food price subdued, and if you keep the taxes high in agriculture, both things together, you will incentivize workers to move away from agriculture towards industry. You understand that? Food prices subdued means you're keeping inflation low for food. Industrial workers are net producers of industrial goods. They are net buyers of agricultural goods. You keep that price low and make people feel good about it. Another method of industrialization is keep raw material prices low by subduing the agricultural price again. So train your people to think it's a virtue. But now think about the inflation aspect of it. If agricultural price growth is 3% per annum, just randomly choosing numbers. If agricultural price growth is 3% per annum, and income growth in urban areas is say 6% per annum, will this inflation necessarily hurt people in urban areas? So as long as the real returns in urban areas are higher, ideally the urban people should have no reason to complain that my prices are rising. पर अब मेरे मन में वो बात आ गई है, मैं मुस्कुराता रहूंगा, आपको लगेगा I have lost it in the evening. You know, I have not lost it. I remember, 2011, onion prices were quite high. Onion prices have fluctuated in India for very long now. So onion prices were quite high. And as usual, there was this political whole furor, news channels, etc., everything. And one day I was watching one of the news channels. All of us need entertainment at times. So, so I was watching that. And there is a lady being interviewed, and this lady is sitting in a Honda City, chauffeur driven, and she is being interviewed about rising onion price. And the comment she gives is, oh yes, this price has risen tremendously, we will now die of hunger, it feels. Hamara to pet pe laat pad gaya, that was the language. Now this is a joke. If you are sitting in a car like Honda City, a sedan, then your monthly payment of EMI for that car itself will be more than 15,000. It's a chauffeur-driven car. Now chauffeurs don't drive it for less than, even in 2011, for less than 10, 12, 15,000. Now that means the person is spending 30,000 just on the car. That means the person's family income will be at least 1 lakh rupees, assuming that she's a big car freak and spends 30% of her income on car only. Even assuming that, her income would be 1 lakh rupees per month. Even if we assume that this person is a huge onion-loving person, this person will still not eat more than 20 kg onion in a month. If we assume onion prices have gone up from 40 rupees per kg to 80 rupees per kg, her bill has gone up from 800 rupees to 1600 rupees, assuming perfectly inelastic demand for onion. With all these aggravated assumptions, then imagine an extra 800 rupees expenditure for a person whose family income can be 1 lakh rupees per month, and the person is saying, "Mera pet pe laat pad gaya." That is how we make it hyperbolic. I'm not saying that onion price increase doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt the rich in the urban areas or the middle class in the urban areas who are the most vociferous about it. Because you will see them the most vociferous. सबसे ज़्यादा चीखते चिल्लाते पाए जाएंगे टेलीविजन चैनल पे, आसपास में बहुत गलत हो रहा है, अनियन का प्राइस बढ़ गया, ऐसा होना नहीं चाहिए. But point is, you are not losing anyways. Now, I can agree if they say that the poor are suffering, because the poor have onion as a staple crop and a staple food, so we should do something about it. But more often than not, you will hear people saying, we are suffering, and that dilutes the problem. That is the extent to which an urban middle class or an urban upper class would like to give any inch to the farmers. But we want government to keep giving high MSP to the farmers. Think of it. If somebody says, should we give high MSP to farmers? Yeah, sure. Farmers, kisan. I am a farmer, apni gaadi pe likh ke ghum rahe hain. But if I am a farmer, then I should be willing to share a larger part of my profit with the farmers. If you say, no, sir, you are just being sentimental, I am not. Believe me, on economics, I never get sentimental. I love this subject like anything. It's the second love of my life. First is obvious. So when you see this, understand my point. Urban income in India, in the last 30 years, urban income in India has increased at the rate of urban income, not total income. Total income has also increased quite well. But urban income in India, real income, not nominal, has increased at the rate of 12.5% per annum. That is the urban income increase in India, average in the last 30 years. And agricultural prices in India have increased at the rate of 3.7% per annum. You can well imagine the real benefit to urban earners in India. The source of my data is National Family Health Survey, Agricultural Quinquennial Survey, and Economic Survey. These are the three sources which I quoted to you just now. But this is what has happened in India in the last 30 years. So the urban people, we, you, me, we will be very reluctant in letting the agricultural price rise, but we are not reluctant in letting our income levels rise. What was the income of, think of it, and please don't die out in these discussions, because I can't make you write all this, but I can put it in your mind. What was the income of a joint secretary level person in India? What would we imagine? Today the income is around 3 lakh rupees per month, but what would be the income in 1980s, 1989 say? 2,500 rupees per month to 2,800 rupees per month, depending on your cadre. The income of a college professor would be 2,200 rupees per month in 1989. The income of a middle management level worker in private sector would be approximately 2,300, 2,200 per month in 1989. All these incomes have gone up 100 times. Nominal terms, of course, but 100 times. People are getting more than 2.5 lakh, 2,20,000 per month at these levels, where they used to get less than 3,000 per month. Income of a farmer used to be around 800 rupees per month in these days. That has not gone up to 80,000. So we got to be careful. This is, when I will teach you Lewis model, I will again bring it back. But in Lewis model, the implication was that avoid the turning points as becoming high by making sure that you don't let the agricultural prices rise. If you don't let the agricultural prices rise, your workers in industrial area will never ask for a higher wage. And they will still become industrial workers. And if they don't ask for a higher wage, then finally you are helping either the capitalist, whether it is the private sector capitalist or the public sector capitalist. And you can keep claiming that we are a socialist country. So you got to be careful about this argument when people say that agricultural price rise. Yes, agricultural price rise hurts you if that growth, if the price inflation is higher than your output growth rate. So if your real GDP starts falling or your real GDP growth rate starts declining, it's surely trouble. But India has not experienced that much of it in the recent past. So that is where we should be careful. Not letting the agricultural price rise is like an implicit tax on the farmer. Because don't forget, the input prices are rising. So we are implicitly taxing the farmer then. Especially those farmers who have to buy their inputs, who are not getting government support accessible everywhere. I hope this can remain with you. ये discussions भूलना मत, नहीं तो गड़बड़ हो जाएगी. All right, I just hope you recall. Now see, you write in this, then, could you tell me the last line you wrote? This you understood? Then you write the fourth thing in this, a fourth reason why. No, this was the third, right? This was the third reason for why price in why subsidies in agriculture was rising, investment was falling. मैं उसमें fourth reason लिखवा रहा हूँ, why public investment fell between 1990 to 2005. So you write that government expenditure on public infrastructure became comparatively lesser between 1991 and 2001, which contributed to decline in overall investment, I hope, Akanksha, you got the answer to your question. Ishan, I hope you got the answer again, because I just answered those. Uh, okay, there's one question that one of your friend asked, that if agriculture price rises, it is a bad thing for net buyer, that is small farmers. But that is the trick in India, no? We don't let the price rise for the rural areas, and we increase the price in the urban areas. That is where the middlemen come into picture. Always keep that in mind. Chanakya, this is an answer to your question too. That remember, the rural prices we don't let rise much. The farmers don't get a higher return, and the investors and the traders get a higher return, and urban prices are allowed to spike. Now that's the problem part that you would see. So we don't let the price rise for the farmer, we let it rise for the consumer. That is the aspect. For terms of trade, in case those of you missed it, terms of trade is nothing but the ratio of agricultural price to industrial price. If it is less than 1, it means industrial price is higher. If it is greater than 1, it means agricultural price is higher. This is important because if industrial price is higher, it means people who are doing industrial services are better off, because they can buy their food cheaper compared to the income that they are earning by selling their industrial goods. If this is greater than 1, it is assumed that then agricultural producers should be better off, because they can now buy things cheaper and they can sell their products at a higher rate. That is the meaning of this whole ratio. I had a hand raised? Yes, yes. So again, if everything else remains constant, you would assume private investments to rise in agriculture because people are making more profit. All right, that is the aspect. All right, below that you write 2005 to 2015. 2005 to 2015. You write in that, after Swaminathan Commission recommendation, after Swaminathan Commission recommendation, investment make it public investment, sorry, my mistake. Public investment in agriculture increased to 12% of agricultural GDP by 2014, and it also crowded in private investment in agriculture. It also crowded in private investment in agriculture, which increased to 9% of agricultural GDP. Full stop. The average agricultural growth in this time period was recorded at slightly above 4%, when I say this time period, I mean 2005 to 2012. The agricultural growth started falling after 2012. All right, so 2005 to 2012 is what we mainly imply. In the same thing you write, slightly above 4% full stop. Public investment was in crop protection. Public investment was in crop protection, comma, rural road development, comma, cold storage chain development, and warehousing facility development. Full stop. Private investment was mainly observed in agribusiness activities. Agribusiness activities are when you talk about linking the agricultural crop production points to the food processing points. Agribusiness is promoting trading activities. All right, that is agribusiness activities. So private sector has earned quite some name here, and in India in the recent 8-9 years, we have had some huge development in this field. All right, agribusiness activities. So agribusiness activities mainly focusing on linkages. In case you want to keep something in your mind, agribusiness is related to linkages, trading linkage, marketing linkage, say grading facility linkage. So linking to different places. All right. Agribusiness facilities and purchase of equipments. Then you write in that this period has recorded fastest agricultural growth backed by higher agricultural exports, which reached $43 billion, in 2014, and high agricultural commodity price. You must have heard a name, commodity super cycle. If not, then I'm telling you now. So commodity super cycle is that globally every 8-10 years it is observed that commodity prices go up big time, cyclically. They will come down, they will go up. Now these commodities are minerals, oil, iron ore, metals, aluminium, steel, and these commodities can be agricultural goods, fruits, vegetables, food grains. So 2010 to 13 was a commodity super cycle. All right, that all agricultural commodity prices were going up. Now obviously if commodity prices will go up, value will start looking high. 2 kg की चीज 30 रुपए की बिके तो 60 रुपया और 50 रुपए की बिके तो 100 रुपया हो गया ना. If a 2 kg product is sold for 30 rupees a kg, it's 60 rupees. 50 rupees a kg becomes 100. So if value is high, it starts looking higher amount thing. All right. That was being observed in this period. and exports were pretty high of agricultural goods. Now these points I'm deliberately making you write. I'm trying to develop a write-up for you in which if they ask you even to write about trend in agricultural GDP growth or agricultural growth, you should have a ready-made answer for that. All right, that this is about saving investment in agriculture, no doubt, but I'm trying to give you a trend that what was agricultural GDP growth 80 to 90, and you know the reasons, green revolution, etc. Then what was agricultural GDP growth 90 to 2005, and then 2005 to 15, and thereafter. Then you write below that 2015 to 18, 2015 to 18, and you write in that public investment marginally declined, public investment marginally declined in agriculture, marginally declined in agriculture to 9% of agricultural GDP, and private investment declined, and private investment declined to 7% of agricultural GDP, full stop. Decline in investment was due to reduced price of commodities produced in agriculture in a bracket you write it reduced private investment, because when commodity prices went down, the private investment came down. All right, so it reduced private investment, close the bracket, and more focus of government. ये जो दूसरा कारण है ये गवर्नमेंट इन्वेस्टमेंट कम होने का कारण है, and more focus of government on large infrastructure projects. Large infrastructure projects, like Bharatmala, Sagarmala, they were all being announced in this time period. So government was focusing on these large infrastructure projects. Public investment in agriculture started becoming lesser. All right, so large infrastructure projects. In a bracket you can write low public investment. That is the reason. Close the bracket. Agricultural growth declined. Agricultural growth declined to less than 2.5% per annum. Less than 2.5% per annum. In spite of normal monsoon, main reduction was observed. Main reduction was observed in marketing facilities, which increased incidences of less price, less price and higher wastage for the farmers because there was surplus production, there was surplus production of food grains, which are low in value, while lack of proper management of their distribution. Then you write 2018 to 2021. And whatever you are writing here, combine that when I will teach you India after 91, I will teach you a trend on MSP, that how MSP has evolved in India. Combine it with that, it will give you an answer about how farmers' income has evolved in the last 7-8 years. All right, that will be a complete answer to that. I will highlight it to you, don't worry. So in the same thing, you write 2018 to 21, government realized, and I say government realized because this was mentioned in the economic survey of 2017-18. All right, like after the next year, the government started increasing investment. So in the economic survey of 17-18, it was mentioned that the fall in public investment is showing its impact on agricultural growth. So if we want agricultural growth to pick up, public investment should pick up. Remember, till 2018, Arvind Subramaniam sir was the chief economic advisor. So economic survey would be written under his tutelage. So then we had an economic survey. After 2018, we have government mouthpiece. So it tries justifying whatever the government does. I hope we get a better one next year. But the whole analysis has gone just to justify in retrospect what has been done across. But till 18, we would, if you read the volume once at times, not now of course, it's not your time right now. But as students of economics, if you get time, if you will read Economic Survey Volume 1 of 15-16 or 16-17, many ideas that you see today, and even in the past, like say a Jan Dhan Yojana, or introducing direct benefit transfer, or introducing a JAM Trinity, all these were touted in the survey first, or Insolvency and Bankruptcy Act. So survey would actually suggest some good things, and then the government would work on that, and that has given some huge benefits to the country. All these things that I named for you are big structural improvements of India, done in the last 4 or 5 years, all right, by our government. But the survey would be the harbinger of it. And that actually is the role of economic survey, that you suggest to the government that this is what we expect you to do. You are the chief economic advisor, and then the government accepts that, and you go ahead, take action, and see how it fructifies. Like I remember on Jan Dhan Yojana, when the survey had suggested it, we being us, many people started criticizing it straight away. Then the government went ahead and introduced Jan Dhan Yojana and started bank accounts. I'm sure many of you would have read the criticism that zero bank accounts and nobody is putting money in them. What's the point of opening such bank account? The poor are not getting any money and so on. But if you see today, we have 43 crore Jan Dhan accounts and there are 2 lakh crore rupees in those Jan Dhan accounts. So that shows the utility of Jan Dhan account. Jan Dhan account used for Ujjwala transfers, the subsidy. Jan Dhan account used for Manrega transfers. Jan Dhan account used for say, even other transfers like PM Swanidhi. So this is this thing. Now imagine if we had not gone for Jan Dhan earlier. So we went for Jan Dhan, in spite of all opposition, we get the results today. My only objection is that those who were criticizing it in those days don't even say a sorry. They find a new thing to criticize now. So, you got to be careful. That is why I tell you that you should never mix politics with economics, at least if you think you are discussing economics. Politics can have its own role, let it be, enjoy that, but economics remains consistent in that whole process. So when you will see that, good schemes work good. Jan Dhan Yojana worked good, but then they have to be implemented with a theoretical background behind it. That was my reason of stopping and telling you that. Your economic advisor, your experts give you that theoretical conviction. Few till 2 years back, even 1 year back, there was so much consistent criticism of GST. Consistently criticizing GST. But now GST is giving robust returns. You read, I told you the other day, hopefully I did, if not I'm saying it right now. These days in newspapers you would often hear corporate tax reduction has given benefits to corporates. Without realizing the benefits to us. What was the corporate tax collection in 2019 budget? That was when the benefits were given. 1920, I'm deliberately taking your time, but I need you to know this, क्योंकि अखबार में बार बार पढ़ के हम उसे अपने अंदर स्थापित कर लेते हैं. हमें लगता है यही परम सत्य है. मैं चाहता हूँ कि करेक्शन अभी हो जाए. 2019-20, that was the year when government announced corporate tax reduction. 2019-20, the corporate tax collection was 5,20,000 crore rupees. That was 2019-20. 5,20,000 crore rupees. By 2022, so I'll just put it for you. 2019-20, the nominal GDP is important because this tells you what is the base on which you are collecting the tax. So nominal GDP was 220 trillion rupees. And corporate tax collection was 5.2 trillion rupees. 5,20,000 crore. By 2021-22, within 2 years, and don't forget 1 year was COVID year, so it doesn't worth comparison, but 21-22, our nominal GDP rises to 237 trillion. Now that's almost a 9% increase that we get. And corporate tax collection rises to 7.2 trillion. Now that's a buoyancy of 4. The percentage change in GDP is 9 odd %, and the percentage change in corporate tax collection is 40%. But we still have the temerity to write in the newspaper that we are losing because of corporate tax reduction. And the wonderful thing is that we have educated people who accept it without even checking the data. Now, why do they say we are losing? That's even more interesting. So what you read in the newspapers is that we have lost 1.3 trillion rupees due to this corporate tax reduction. यही पढ़ते होगे ना, 1,34,000 crore रुपए का नुकसान हो गया. Where does this money come from? Look at the interesting part here. Now, the this is called tax expenditure. Now, what is this tax expenditure? The calculation is done like this. If the same tax rate prevailed, that was there in 2019-20, and then equal amount of corporate profit had been reported, then what is it that we would have collected? अगर वही tax rate होता जो 2019-20 में था और तब वो कॉर्पोरेट प्रॉफिट रिपोर्ट होते जो आज हुए हैं, तो हमारे रिटर्न्स कितने होते, उसके हिसाब से ये नुकसान है. लेकिन अगर वही टैक्स रेट होता तो ये प्रॉफिट रिपोर्ट ही नहीं होते. So we don't even realize that if the same tax rate had remained, the people would not have reported profit the way they were not reporting it till then. It cannot be the case that suddenly profit would have jumped by 40% in the last 2 odd years. It's more reporting because you make the tax system more friendly to people. So people say, okay, let me make white money now if this is a possibility. But since we don't know these numbers, we accept this number and we say, yeah, see, government is so pro-rich, it is helping the rich and anti-poor, not helping the poor. And then in turn we assume that there is nothing called a Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana. So be very careful, that when you discuss government or governance, don't have a political feeling. अभी जैसे मैंने कहा ना, आप सोच के देखिए, ऐसी मजाक कर रहा हूँ, मैं और तुम तो दोस्त हैं, लेकिन अभी जैसे मैंने कहा कि इकोनॉमिक सर्वे आखिरी बार तब ठीक आया था, अब तो सरकार का माउथ पीस है, तो आपके मन में आएगा ओहो एंटी मोदी, एंटी नक्सल, अर्बन नक्सल आया. अभी मैंने बोला ये हो रहा है देश में, ये गलत रिपोर्टिंग है, अरे ये तो भक्त निकला. So the problem is you find a bhakt in me or urban Naxal in me depending on how your political thinking can be. I don't care. My concern is whatever I see and my mind says it's correct, I would be speaking it out. So my mind says that economic survey is a mouthpiece of the government, I can play it on loop. And similarly, my mind says that this is the corporate tax collection that we should take care of, and this is a lie, that technical lie, of course. It's not a complete lie, it's a lie like Ashwathama Hato Hato, So it's a technical lie, but you speak this lie again and again and convince people that actually we have lost money, but we have not. So we got to be careful that when we take actions, when we are doing things, again, avoid the polity of it. It just doesn't matter. All of us will be gone another 50, 60, 70, 80 odd years. India stays. So let's talk India rather than politics within India. Indira Gandhi was such a strong leader, but she's gone. So be it. So it's just that. So leaders can be strong, weak, whatever, but they go. Country remains. तो तुम भी डिस्कशन में पॉलिटिक्स मत लाना कभी, अपने इकोनॉमिक्स को सोच के डिस्कस करो, तो एंजॉय भी करोगे इकोनॉमिक्स को, जैसे मुझे आता है मजा ये. आई कीप एंजॉइंग माई इकोनॉमिक्स बिकॉज आई डोंट बॉदर अबाउट हु इज द पॉलिटिशियन आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट. मोदी जी, ममता जी, राहुल जी, एनी जी, दे आर केस स्टडीज. Nothing more, nothing else, less for us. But anyways, so please keep that in mind. And I deliberately gave you this because I have been reading this in around 7 articles in the last 9 days across the 4 newspapers I read. So I read 7 articles over there in which this was mentioned. So I just thought that this is a nice propaganda happening in our country. At least my children should be aware that this is not correct. That is the aspect. So please be aware, and next time please don't write that we are losing money by reducing corporate tax, because अगर तुम ये सब गलत बात लिखोगे तो वो मुझ पे रिफ्लेक्ट करेगा. तो मेरी हालत फुटबॉल कोच वाली है. So I want that you should know that what is the reality. So please keep, and you don't need to trust me also. Verify these numbers from the government budget. You don't have to even blink. Just go on Google and you will see these numbers on government budget. All right. Now we come to 18 to 21. You write. Could you tell me the line you had written? Yeah. Could I just see? Because all of you spoke together, so I kind of. Yeah. Government realized that low growth in agriculture. Government realized that low growth in agriculture was due to decrease in investment and therefore it again increased public investment in agriculture to 12% of agricultural GDP, to 12% of agricultural GDP, comma, private investment has not entirely picked up. Private investment has not entirely picked up. And remains at 8% of agricultural GDP. Remains at 8% of agricultural GDP. Full stop. However, the growth rate has again increased and remained consistently above 3.5% per annum in this time period. The rise in investment is mainly observed in post-harvesting infrastructure, of marketing, connectivity and storage. Then you change the paragraph. We are writing a conclusion to this. You write, overall, it is observed that there are two main results in agricultural capital formation trends in India. First, higher public investment crowds in private investment, mainly by reducing cost of doing business. And then second, higher investment in general and higher public investment in particular increases growth rate of agricultural GDP, as observed in all the time periods. All right. We are left with two discussions. I am not pushing it right now. I'll need 1 hour for those discussions. Actually, maybe I grossly underestimated the time I will need. So my error there. I thought we'll have a lot of time. But anyways, so on Wednesday, we'll spend the first 1 hour finishing this and then begin with micro after that. All right, that is how we'll go ahead. Thank you and have a great Diwali. Bye-bye. I'm deliberately not giving it to you right now. We don't have enough time for that. I'll give it to you on Wednesday. And the questions I'll put for you by tonight, 2 more questions from this week. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye. God bless you. more is favorable to agriculture then. Yes, because price of agricultural goods is higher than that of industries. High as compared to what the farmer's cost of production was, all right, but only for those who could get MSP. All right, not in the market necessarily. All right. I'll just take 1 second. Pritha, I would suggest you call it both institutional and technical because infrastructure comes under technical. The public investment Srishti was 12%. Thank you. Bye-bye. Was 12%. And agricultural growth rate between 90 to 2005 was 2% Vikas. Happy Diwali to you too, Krishna. Green Revolution compromised crop diversity. We will discuss it. Amir Beer, we will be discussing it. How Green Revolution affected crop diversity. We will be discussing it. I will be giving you the answer to that in the class on Wednesday. It is uploaded. You can get it, Shubhankar. It's uploaded, the micro macro. Agricultural GDP is GDP created in agriculture. If you don't like agricultural GDP, you can call it agricultural output. It's one and the same. Because investment trend was there till 2015. As in the investment increase continued till 2015, 14-15. Growth started falling from 12, but growth started falling mainly because of that again commodity super cycle coming to a halt gradually. All right. Possible. We still have to do research on that to know what exactly is the cause. All right. वो एक्सटर्नल टर्म्स ऑफ ट्रेड में वही यूज होता है. तो हाँ, मतलब टर्म्स ऑफ ट्रेड का मतलब सिंपली होता है प्राइस रेशियो. अब वो किसी दो का हो सकता है. ठीक है. इन जनरल हाँ, मतलब जब भी इन्वेस्टमेंट ही कम होता था तो ही एग्रीकल्चरल प्रोडक्शन कम हो. इन जनरल कि जनरली स्पीकिंग अगर इन्वेस्टमेंट कम होगा तो एग्रीकल्चरल प्रोडक्शन कम होगा, और पर्टिकुलरली अगर पब्लिक इन्वेस्टमेंट कम होगा तब तो एग्रीकल्चरल प्रोडक्शन पक्का कम हो जाएगा. जनरल मीन्स ऑन अ होल, पर्टिकुलर मीन्स in general the class is intelligent, in particular you are more intelligent, that kind of state. All right. I'll take care of that because now those reports are 4 years old, so you don't need to necessarily go into that. वो पढ़ लो तो अच्छा, it's a good document. I'll just take 1 second. Krishna, you can take a blank page and write it on that, isn't it, for answer writing? Devyani, low level equilibrium implies that people are happy living a life where their income is low, wage rate is low, but their expenditures are also low. And high level equilibrium is when income is high, wage rate is high, expenditure is high. Alright, that is the idea. I hope you got agricultural GDP, Manasvi. Agricultural growth rate in 2019 was 3.9%, Shivani. Happy Diwali to you too, Irfan. And happy Diwali, Nisha. Happy Diwali, Apurva. Happy Diwali, Devyani. Yes, yes. As terms of trade increased in favor of agriculture, it was because industries had become more competitive. ठीक है, तो उसके वजह से इंडस्ट्री के प्राइस तो कम हो गए, एग्रीकल्चर के नहीं हुए. Imagine it now, I am a producer of agricultural goods, you are an industry producer. Then effectively I am buying your good and you are buying mine. So if terms of trade are in my favor, then my earnings are better and my expenditures are less. That is. No, I was referring to both. No, because whenever you have a price rise, if the price rise is not too much, then your output production is also incentivized. Price rise. What is the? Greenback is dollar. Yes. No, so when the price rises, then the government doesn't let the price fall. It lets the price rise for the farmer. So now if I'm a net buyer of food, I'm in trouble. All right, that doesn't interfere. So government says that why we don't need to interfere here because we will give you food security with PDS and all. But then if PDS is not reaching me, that is trouble part. Yes, correct. Ideally it should be then, but India has lost it in the last 20 years, so now MSP is given every year. Ideally procurement should be given every year. MSP should be given only when the government is in a, when the farmer is in a loss. But now we give MSP itself as procurement. It should be. Because you can predict the price also, no, that they can get. That's predictable. That's predictable. Oh yes, yes, that's predictable. You can predict the demand sides too. Tends to be. No, MSP is only when the market is giving you such a low price that government can give you a slightly higher price. No, but procurement price is only when government will need it. Procurement is if I need for food security, I need for inputs. MSP is given even if the government doesn't need it. They will still buy it to protect the farmers. For the food security, procurement price ideally should be announced every year for food procurement. But point is that food procurement will be done only to the extent to which I need food as government. All right? Not to absorb the entire production. Welcome. Happy Diwali, Ashi. Corporate tax reduction is liberalization. Yes, you can say that, Manasvi. Happy Diwali, Vikas. Happy Holi. Between 1990 and 2005, it was below 2.5%, Anuj. Yes, yes. We will talk about agricultural income taxation separately. We will definitely talk. Yes. No, we will discuss agricultural taxation, income taxation. हाँ. नहीं तो वही कह रहा हूँ इसकी जगह पर लार्ज फार्मर को सबसे पहले तो रिक्वायरमेंट ही क्यों है सब्सिडी लेने की? एक बड़ा किसान अमीर आदमी को रिक्वायरमेंट क्या जरूरत है सब्सिडी लेने की? जिसका घर 2000 स्क्वायर फीट का है वो उसको बिजली की सब्सिडी क्यों मिले? लेकिन सोचो अगर बिजली की सब्सिडी पे 200 यूनिट का रिकॉर्ड ना हो तो समझ गए? हाँ ठीक है. हैप्पी दिवाली टू यू टू Manasvi. Okay, then I'll see you all. Happy Diwali, Pratishtha. I'll see you on Wednesday then. Happy Diwali, all of you online. Thank you. Bye-bye.